Welcome. Let's do a little friendly fire. Jason Whitlock and the Korean Cosell, your favorite part of the show, Steve Kim. Steve, welcome. I've got an incredible topic for us to talk about. Having watched Dak Prescott implode on Sunday Night Football, having watched Brock Purdy star in Sunday Night Football, 49ers rout the Cowboys 42-10. Dak Prescott throws 3 interceptions. Brock Purdy throws 4 touchdown passes and just looks incredible. Looks like baby Tom Brady, perhaps, playing on the right team. Steve, my takeaway from the entire NFL weekend, quit overpaying virtually all of these quarterbacks. Don't do it. Patrick Mahomes is worth it. Aaron Rodgers used to be worth it. Maybe Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are worth it. The rest of them. Why are you giving these guys $40 million a year? They're not that good. You can maybe find someone like Brock Purdy deep in the draft, or you just replace them. I wouldn't pay Jalen Hurts, and they've paid him. I wouldn't pay any of these guys, except for a small handful of them. It's just not worth it. Someone has to come up with a new method. The whole franchise quarterback era thing is over. Treating these quarterbacks like, oh, I'm going to have them for the next 15, 20 years is a joke. These athletic quarterbacks, look at Lamar Jackson and the struggles he's having. The Ravens not off to the greatest start. I'm saying quit paying these guys. I wouldn't pay Brock Purdy. I wouldn't, I wouldn't pay any of them. That's my takeaway. I'm going to get deeper into this, but I want you to go just react to that.
Well, I mean, it's like when you go to a restaurant and you want the lobster and it says market price or seasonal price or whatever. Well, that's the price for lobster, unfortunately. May not be the best lobster, but if you want lobster, you're going to pay that price. Now, a couple things here from what you said. I think you're underrating Brock Purdy. I know that he's Mr. Irrelevant, but he's actually really good. Look, is he surrounded by a Pro Bowl cast? Yes. Do they have a great offensive system? Yes. Do they tailor the play calling around him perfectly? Yes. But you know what? Ask Trey Lance if it's that easy to function in that offense. Trey Lance, they gave a king's ransom to move up in the draft. Couldn't play. Couldn't do it. The more you watch Brock Purdy and the more he evolves, Jason, I'm actually impressed by a couple of things. He has very average arm strength, but he mitigates it by getting rid of the ball on time. He anticipates throws. He throws guys open. And he made some throws in the middle of the field, true NFL throws. And I'm like, you know what? This goes beyond the system. This transcends Shanahan. This guy's actually good. Give him a little bit of credit. Come on.
I'm willing to give Brock Purdy credit. I'm willing to concede he's playing in a great system. And I'm willing to concede he may turn out to be a guy that it's worth paying, but I wouldn't overpay. Remember, Tom Brady was never really overpaid during his career, during his heyday.
So I will add this. If I'm Brock Purdy and his agent, I realize, you know what? I may get more money somewhere else, but I may not have a Kittle. I may not have a Trent Williams. I may not have a Shanahan. I may not have a Debo. So now you have to understand, sometimes the best contract is not always the one that pays you the most. Honestly. Now, if he leaves San Francisco, he can now actually get his own duplex or his own condominium. Rent's kind of high out there. So, okay. So that's a plus of leaving San Francisco. And you may not step in human feces just walking down the sidewalk. But again, from a pure football standpoint, let's say taking 2/3 of the money or 3/4 to stay in San Francisco in that ecosystem in terms of his overall development and success as a quarterback, like Tom Brady, sometimes in terms of taking the best contract, maybe the one where you're not paid the most. That I agree with you. Now, Jason, I think you're completely underrating Jalen Hurts. I get it. Jalen Hurts' numbers are not always great, but the way they play, I think he's the only guy that could do that physical stuff. I completely disagree with you on Hurts.
and I'll go to you're reducing it down. I want to go a little bigger picture. Go back to the graphic. Let's put the graphic up, I think, where we go back to the 2013 season and all these great quarterbacks that were a part of the 2013 NFL. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Cam Newton, Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Tony Romo, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, Russell Wilson. That's a dozen or maybe 13 quarterbacks I just rattled off their names to. That in 2013 were all playing at a high level.
They were.
Now, tell me, if we reduce that to a top 10, how many of these quarterbacks, other than Mahomes and I guess Joe Burrows and Josh Allen, can legitimately crack that top 10? Look, I just don't know if the quarterback has changed in the NFL just over the past decade in terms of the elite. There aren't as many elite level quarterbacks because they're not being prepared in college in this spread offense where they use their athleticism and all that. These guys aren't the same. Lamar Jackson had a great MVP season. He hasn't played that well in the postseason, and he hasn't played that well in the last couple of years. He hasn't been available, and this year they bring in they pay him, and then they bring in this offensive coordinator that's going to turn Lamar Jackson into this great passing quarterback, and it has not happened, and the Ravens look stupid paying this guy $45 million a year, and a lot of, you think the Cowboys don't look stupid paying Dak Prescott 40-some-odd million a year? I said it at the time, and I said, don't pay this guy. He's not worth it. He's worth about $28-30 million a year, which is a great living. But he needs all of these pieces around him, or he can't carry your team. That's most of these guys. Lamar did it as a one-off for 1 year. Cam Newton did it for a one-off for a year or two. But they can't sustain it, and we need to quit paying them like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a great 10-year run with these guys. No, you're not.
Jason, one other quarterback that I would put into that category, Trevor Lawrence. I'm a firm believer in him. He's a guy that can operate in the pocket, and he's got above average athleticism. And after some early struggles, I like the way the Jaguars are trending. With that said, Jason, you talk about the change in the game. There is a term that we all need to know now, which makes today's quarterbacks effective, that a lot of those guys on that graphic would not be able to do. It's called the +1, where you have to defend the quarterback in the run game. Now, that's the truth. Going back to Jalen Hurts, the fact that he can run the ball and he's physical and he's tough, and you got that brotherly shove, the game is different, Jason. Do I believe that the guys that you listed on that graphic are pure pocket passers and more traditional? Yes. Do I think it's the more efficient, safe way to have a longer career? No argument from me. But with the way the game is played today, with that +1, with the stuff like the read option and quarterbacks just flat out getting running plays called for them, the game has changed. I really believe that mobility used to be a luxury. It is almost now something you have to have. So that's a little bit different, which is why I'm not so sure guys that you listed in 2013 for elite as they are would necessarily be the prototype for 2023.
Whoa. Any of those guys playing for the San Francisco 49ers, you're telling me they wouldn't have success? Any of those guys? Let me give you the other team, and I don't know what Jared Goff is getting paid, but the Detroit Lions are a real threat. I believe maybe the second best team in the NFC.
Now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I came into the season believing in them. They had a bad loss earlier and irritated me, but I'm now back on board. Jared Goff, not a guy that you're having to pay a bunch of money to. You got a complete team around him. Brock Purdy and Jared Goff, to me, are leading the two teams that are playing the best in the NFC. Philadelphia's 5-0. I get it. I haven't been that impressed. Their offensive line is carrying them right now, in my view, not Jalen Hurts. I'm not trying to badmouth Jalen Hurts. I'm just trying to put in perspective. I want to show you this graphic of all these quarterbacks that got all this bonus money in the recent few years. Start with Lamar Jackson, $72 million. Dak Prescott, $66 million. Matt Stafford, $60 million. Russell Wilson, $50 million. Deshaun Watson, $44 million. Joe Burrow, $40 million. Daniel Jones, $36 million. And Kyler Murray, $30 million. Look at their records. Look at their records. Dak Prescott's 3-2, and Lamar Jackson's 3-2. No one's arguing these guys have played well. The rest of Deshaun Watson, set out, hasn't played that well. They're too. You think Denver's happy with Russell Wilson? Daniel Jones? Any of the Kyler Murray? They're talking about Arizona's talking about jettisoning Kyler Murray. Why are we giving these guys all this money when most of them aren't sustainably good?
That's
great.
Well, here's the risk that you run if you don't pay a quarterback. There is no guarantee that you're going to get elite play. I'm with you. The problem is you can't win with a bad quarterback. And so, again, I go back to market value and market price. Now, your question, I want to address
Here's what you can win with. Here's what you can win with. A rookie, a young quarterback.
If they're good.
And so I would just keep drafting them. I
don't think Brock Purdy's grow on trees, though. And I'll tell you why Brock Purdy fits that system. In that system of Shanahan, you have to have a little bit of mobility. When they start doing the bootleg waggle series, you got to have some mobility. You got to have quick feet and the ability.
You know they came this close to winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? They came this close to winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right, and so Garoppolo is okay. But again, if Trey Lance, if anyone can do it, Trey Lance, with everything they invested in him.
I'm not saying anyone can do it.
But
I'm not saying anyone can do it.
I think anyone can just draft a quarterback and it works. It doesn't work. It's actually hard to find quarterbacks. That's why you overpay them. And look, it's a mistake. I thought the Daniel Jones contract was completely exorbitant. And you're saying that he gets no help. The offensive line is falling apart. They have no weapons outside. But the quarterback position is the most overvalued in sports, Jason. I do not disagree with you on that. However, they are not easy to find. That is why they are overpaid, ironically.
Let me tell you what's hard to find. I don't think quarterbacks are that hard to find. I really don't.
Good ones?
Placing the let me finish. I think placing a quarterback in the right system with the right head coach and the right talent around them, I think that's hard to do. The people in Los Angeles went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, and then they said, he's not enough. Then he goes to Detroit. Now, again, he's got the right pieces around him, the right environment around him, and voila, he's leading a team that's a legitimate playoff team, and there's no one that will want to see that Detroit team, if healthy at the end of the year. There's no one that's going to want to see them in the playoffs, and no one would be surprised. At this point, no one would be surprised if Detroit ended up pulling an upset and playing in the Super Bowl, and Jared Goff returns to his second Super Bowl. Putting a quarterback in the right system is difficult. Finding a quarterback, not as difficult in my opinion.
But even Jared Goff, you think they grow on trees? They do not. Because you know one thing Jared Goff can do that a lot of quarterbacks cannot that come out of college now? Play directly under center. Because a lot of what they do in their success, because of Ben Johnson, who's very clever, but they run a lot of old school underneath center football. It's about the eye candy with a lot of the motion, but they run hard play action, and then they get into like deep drops. Not every quarterback can do that, Jason, because most of them, all they do is play shotgun. They're in spread, and they don't look. One thing about Goff, and you give him a good running game, he is an absolute surgeon in the intermediate area. Okay, but you're asking a lot of quarterbacks that have never played underneath center you just can't plug and play what they do. I'm just telling you, Jared Goff actually has some skills that are kind of rare to today's quarterbacks.
I'm not disparaging Jared Goff. What I'm saying is, from Goff, and Patrick Mahomes, clearly very talented, but he's blessed to be playing with Andy Reid. Who has looked bad playing with Andy Reid? What quarterback in the last 30 years has looked bad playing for Andy Reid? No one.
Okay.
No one. And so the real value is in the coach and the system. And that's not knocking Patrick Mahomes, because I think he's worth the money. He fits that system. He's found the right coach. But I'm telling you, the dynamics have changed so much. We think of a franchise quarterback, and that's from a traditional point of view from the 70s and 80s, when the quarterbacks actually used to have to know the playbook and call plays. Now everything is told in their ear, and they've simplified most of these passing offenses to the point that again, they're out there on crutches, basically. They're getting so much help from the sidelines. They're not doing nearly as much, and we're paying them like they're doing more. You can't, if I was an NFL player that played offensive line or even wide receiver or tight end or any of these positions, look at the physicality and how they've reduced it on the quarterback. Everything has been made easier for the quarterback, from a coach talking in his earpiece to the referees protecting him at all costs, but we're paying him more money, that position more money than everybody else by leaps and bounds, because we pretend like that position has gotten harder rather than easier. It's gotten easier, and most of these guys aren't special. They're in the right system.
Right.
The ones that are having success.
All right, but there's only one Andy Reid. And Andy Reid's coaching tree is pretty good, but I've seen head coaches that have come underneath that system have failed miserably. I watched a lot of that Kansas City Chiefs game yesterday. Travis Kelce is a Hall of Famer. But the rest of those surrounding parts, it is about Mahomes doing some magic. This goes beyond just Andy Reid. Okay, Rice, a promising young rookie. Christian Watson makes some plays. Kadarius Toney. But if you just think you can take the Andy Reid system with any coach and then plug and play, that has not proven to be the case. And I believe there's only one Andy Reid.
Hold for 1 second. Okay, Steve, and we'll take a pause here and let you go to Google if you need to. Name me the quarterback who has looked bad playing for Andy Reid in Philadelphia or Kansas City.
All right, name me the quarterback that has won a Super Bowl with Andy Reid. There's only one. His name is Patrick Mahomes. The player still matters. The player still matters. There's never been a
Donovan McNabb looked like a Hall of Famer playing for Andy Reid and came this close to winning a Super Bowl if he hadn't run out of breath. Alex Smith was playing at an MVP level under Andy Reid. Michael Vick got a second $100 million contract out of prison playing for Andy Reid. Andy Reid. Look at what Kyle Shanahan's doing now with San Francisco. He had Jimmy Garoppolo.
How many years was Andy Reid a head coach before he actually hoisted a Lombardi trophy? Took some time. Players matter. Players matter. Our system's important, yes, but do players matter? Of course they do. And Patrick Mahomes is pretty special. Last I checked.
Let me ask you this. If you were an owner and you had to say, hey, who do I want on my franchise? If I could only have one, Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes, who would you take? It's an easy answer, Steve. It's an easy answer. The guy's been head coach for dang near 30 years, and he always wins.
He always wins. So does
Mahomes. And it doesn't matter who the quarterback is.
So does Mahomes.
Not for 30 years.
Okay, obviously, well, you've gone JB on me. Boy, have you gone JB. So you're almost saying that Mahomes is overrated?
No. I'm not saying that. I think Patrick Mahomes is great. I just think, Steve, you have to accept, and this is where Coach JB is right, the guys putting the systems in are probably the people that should be making $40 million a year. And the great ones at doing that should be making $40 million a year, and the quarterbacks should be making 25.
This is not perfectly analogous. All I know is this: the triangle offense in basketball, when it didn't have Jordan, Pippen, Shaq, and Kobe, it got a lot of coaches fired, right? Players kind of matter.
You just compared
here. Yes, I did.
You just compared what Andy Reid does
I'm going to start calling you Coach
triangle.
Jason B. That's what I'm going to start calling you. So Mahomes, maybe. So all this protest, every time Coach JB says, Mahomes is overrated, you hang up on the guy. And now I got to listen to this. The irony. Cue Alanis Morissette. 1,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. Wow. I don't even know who you are anymore, Whitlock. I don't even know who you are.
Put up the graphic of the last 5 Super Bowls and who the quarterbacks have been. Jalen Hurts, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jared Goff. Patrick Mahomes is the only one of those. And keep in mind, because Brady, now I guess in Tampa, Brady still didn't break the bank in Tampa. He still wasn't on one of these incredible contracts in Tampa. What Tom Brady did is the blueprint for how to win a bunch of championships and have a great team every year. San Francisco's duplicating it. Kyle Shanahan is the actual superstar in that whole deal. He and John Lynch, to put from Nick Bosa to Fred Warner to what they have on the defensive side of the ball, clearly to acquiring Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Debo, Samuel, all of that they have on offense. That's what you want to do. And Detroit has figured it out. And we need to change the conversation from, hey, how can we find this Super Bowl quarterback who can't be stopped year after year? No, man, how do you find the head coach and the system and put the players around so that you can drop Mr. Irrelevant into that system and he can look like Brock Purdy?
Right, but see, I don't completely disagree with you. You need the system, the coaching, the play calling, but not to just say you can plug and play anybody. That quarterback still has to have a certain level of competency. Brock Purdy, I'm just telling you, is actually more than just a plug-and-play guy. He has some intangibles that go beyond
Steve,
being the last pick in the draft. That's all I'm saying. You think anyone can be Brock Purdy? I disagree. Completely disagree with that.
So we're going to have to run this tape back and see when did I say the words plug and play? When did I say that?
You're inferring. That's what you are inferring. Just draft anyone, throw them in there. Right. Okay. See how that works.
You have no idea what these guys are coming out of college, how they're going to respond to getting 30, 40, 50, even 15 million. Are they going to be like Kyler Murray and play Call of Duty all night and order DoorDash and wear a sports bra? You just never know. So I just wouldn't commit to any. Arizona looks stupid giving Kyler Murray any type of long-term contract.
We did that 2 years ago, Jay. We actually did a segment where we said, I wouldn't pay that guy. I would not pay anyone that you actually have to say you may want to watch tape. That should be already assumed that you are the hardest.
Dak Prescott there. People acted like Jerry Jones had no choice but to pay Dak Prescott. They should have let him walk.
Certain media.
Okay, let me give you.
A civil rights issue. Let's be honest. We weren't part of that. We knew Dak was overrated or overpaid, but there was specific pressure because of Jerry Jones to pay that man. And you know what that was? That was all because he didn't want to come off as not paying the black quarterback. Can we be honest about that? Me and you were on that one.
All right, let me give you the other one then. Let me give you the smoking gun. Baltimore should have let Lamar Jackson walk.
That's a tougher one for me. He was such a key. Well, that's a tough one because he was such a key part of that franchise, and the city may have revolted against you. And look, let's give this a little time. It's a new system. It's got a new coordinator. Let's revisit Lamar Jackson and how he's playing in November. He is still just a couple of 5-6 weeks into a new offensive coordinator. I'm willing to give it time, but again, I really think the problem with Lamar is people think he's more than what he is. And Greg Roman has been slandered because of some of the limitations of Lamar Jackson. But again, let's be fair about this. He's got a new coordinator. Let's revisit this in November.
Look at Steve leaving himself out.
No, I'm not leaving myself out.
Oh, shit, no. You guys think he's fearless and he's the star of the show. Look at him dancing and sitting on the fence on Lamar Jackson. Incredible. Steve, great job as always. If you guys like this content, you need to start hopping in the comment section and saying that you agree with me that it's time to quit overpaying these quarterbacks and start overpaying these head coaches and systems and start paying these other players on the roster. If I was a running back, if I was any of these other positions, like, man, y'all giving these quarterbacks $40, $50 million a year? Pay me. Give me 5% of that money. Add that to my salary. The NFLPA is allowing a handful of quarterbacks to eat up most of the salary cap, and these other players are good with it when they know these quarterbacks aren't worth it. Snap out of it. Anyway, hop in the comments, tell me what you think. If you really like this content, I want you to support one of our great sponsors, Nugenix. Get your testosterone level boosted. Text FEARLESS to 231-231. That's FEARLESS to 231-231. We'll see you next time. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all of your fearless friends.